go. All systems are nominal. Check, check. I've changed the setup a little bit from my last live stream, so now hopefully things should be running a little more smoothly. I've brought everything together so that I don't have to fidget too much in my chair, and I've changed the position of the other camera. So, as you might be able to tell, this camera is a bit closer to everything, but it's still not close enough to catch any sketching on this thing here. I have this camera here. Well, actually, that one is better, right? So, I've got this farther camera, and then this closer camera. So this one is actually for being able to see what I'm sketching here, and then I can also bring any small sketchbooks there. And I've got a version of that where you can see me in a little screen in the top left while I'm doing whatever is over here. So, welcome to my second live stream. The first one was a little bit of a mess. Half of the audio cut out because I didn't have the settings right, and the stream ended prematurely because our power went out, but that's all right. I'm just working out the kinks. For this live stream, I will be showing all of you my art journey so far. I started doing that halfway through the first stream, but the audio wasn't active for that one, so I'll just start from the beginning. But that's pretty much it, really. Be showing you my sketches all the way from the beginning and talking about it, and that'll be all. So, tilt that down. All right. That's better. So, like I described in my last live stream, one of the very first things that I did was to practice basic shapes, taking polygonal shapes, drawing them in different angles, just helping to build up my muscle memory of basic shapes. Then messing around with those shapes by twisting them and warping them, things like that. For this one, I tried to do a full body right from the get-go. That didn't go particularly well, but it was nice practice to get some interesting concepts down. So I decided I'd start on hands. I'd start one body part at a time, and build up from there. Tried some feet. Then I learned this really big tip that helped me a lot. Think big, relax, use the weight of the pencil. A phenomenon that was happening to me was I would be drawing these very small objects, right? Because when you haven't drawn much before, your only reference for like putting pen to paper is text, and letters are very small, they're very fine. But an important step is to learn to be a bit more floaty, to use more of the paper, and that can really help. So these are more practice of hands. Might want to take the second camera down for a moment. More practice of hands. I would draw a hand from a reference, take note of anything that didn't work, and what I needed to correct, and then correct it going forward using more hand references. There's a nice little monster that I drew. Saw it in a dream. Yes, but these all are references of another artist's work, so that's mostly what I would practice from. Like that. Hands. Yes. This one, though, this one is special. After all of that practice, I tried my hand, no pun intended, at drawing a body part. Myself. So this was totally from my imagination, no reference at all, and that's when I knew that I was done with that body part. Is the stream still freezing for you guys, or is it still going well? I've been having this this notification that the stream might not be running as smoothly as it could be for a little while. I'm afraid there's not much I can do. I'm using a hand-me-down computer. Yeah. But I'll keep trying. So anyway, after mastering hands, I went on to legs. Generally, I would just, the way I learn is I would use an art aggregation site like Pinterest, and I'd collect little tutorials from other artists, right? There are other artists who make like these small, really quick visual tutorials, and I just practice those. Whichever ones I like, I'd keep. Whichever ones didn't work, well, they didn't work. This one here, I was showing you guys last stream. This was me trying to be overly detailed with something. So when I tried it again, take that camera away. When I tried it again and just tried something very simplified, it worked much, much better. That's something I'll be talking about in the next stream, where you don't have to really draw a thing, you just have to draw the idea of a thing. Yes. View, side view, keep trying. Different leg types. I tried different leg types here. And then there's something really interesting about how the knee works when you bend your leg. It kind of pops out in this weird way. That was fun to practice. Practice of feet. The one on the right here was an attempt at trying to draw like one whole shape and then just kind of add in the toes with like little bumps and lines. That didn't go particularly well, but this was an attempt at a horse that I saw in a dream. That didn't go very well. I've been practicing horses since then, so if I tried again, it might be a little better, but yeah. Yeah, I think I got the hang of feet, no, legs, back here somewhere. So I felt like I was good. So I moved on to feet, drawing them from different angles. Feet are very strange things. But yeah. Body parts. Those were not good practice back there. This is where I mastered arms. Here we go. And this isn't necessarily anatomically correct. As you can see, the bicep and the tricep isn't very visible at all. It just kind of goes in, but it seems to work the best for me, and it works as the idea of an arm, not really an arm itself. So then I practiced torsos. Yeah. And then I went on to heads. I tried to draw a face with a head first, and that didn't go very well. You'll find later on that I found a really neat trick for faces, which will be nice. So for head shapes, I tried different angles here. Here we go. And one really good tip that I found was to take basic shapes and apply them to faces. So as you can see, some faces could be circular, some could be squarish or rectangular, and some faces could be triangular, right? So basic shapes, using that as the base for a face, and then adding in the details later, that can help to give you differentiated head shapes. And then you can mix and match, right? So you could make a face that is triangular, but also a little circular, a little more smooth, right? Let's see. I think I was able to show you guys the coil technique well enough in the last stream, but basically the coil technique is a very nice quick hand where you draw a spiral shape, following whatever is the basic thing you're trying to draw. So to mimic this horn here, right, you would kind of go in a spiral and follow the general direction of what you're going for, and then you'd fill in the lines. And it's just a guide to help you create a three-dimensional shape. Not as good as actual three-dimensional practice, but still very good. So things that those are really useful for, horns, obviously, but you might do like a cyclone, or pipes for a pipe system, or snakes and worms. And you can also use the coil technique on limbs, which is very nice. If you're doing a pose and you are unsure what the limb position of something is, using the coil technique can really help with a body pose. These here are my first full body poses. So I practiced hands, mastered those, practiced feet, mastered those, legs, arms, torso, head, and then I did one of these. This is my very first full body pose, and then another one here. Tried something more action, didn't quite work, but it's not bad. Let's see. Interesting. These are some good examples of the basic skeletons that I use for full body poses. So as I was learning, a good thing to do is to make a basic skeleton for a pose. So the concept behind these characters was that they were some kind of like heist group. So there's the mastermind, the muscle, the gizmo, etc. But they're kind of like stickman figures, but the torsos have different shapes, right? So the mastermind has a triangular shape to his torso. The muscle has a very big squarish shape, etc., etc., and that can help with creating different torso shapes. This here is an example of composition. Let me see if I can get that close. If you'll notice near the top, I practiced the very basic shapes of each of the characters, right? Like the silhouettes. So one of them is kind of like a square, one of them is kind of like a rectangle. They've got different sizes and things like that. And the idea behind composition is to create a pleasing pattern to the eye at a glance. So this is something you'll often see in posters where it's got this kind of symmetry here. Like the biggest character is in the center at the back, and then the tallest are right in front of him, and then the shorter ones kind of spread out from that. So it's got this nice, it kind of follows the arc of this faux explosion. So that's an idea of composition. I got a little ambitious with this one. After learning full body poses, I was working on a fantasy race that I had made, and the fantasy race is made entirely of fire. So they were human, they were turned into beings of fire. So I drew a body pose, then added fire details to that, and then did a little practice with some faces. I actually have a color version of this that I did on digital. That up. Yes. Here we go. Ooh. Let me see if I can get that close enough to see. Is it too bright? That's better. That is more visible. So what I did was I took the sketch, I took a picture, and then went into a digital app and added digital effects. So this one actually has color, it's got gradients, it's got an idea of lighting. I was pretty satisfied with this one, but it was nowhere near to the actual concept of the fantasy race. So once I'm more skilled, I'll try that again. Let's see. Here we go. This one's another monster that I saw in a dream. It's just a big ol' fish. beach ball shaped head, multiple eyes. Yeah. I'm pretty sure I used the coil technique for this one to get the fin to look like it's bending toward us. And then I just erased the spiral sketch parts so that cleaned it up. These two here, more full body poses. This was for a sci-fi race that I had made. These aliens are very, very tall. They average 7 feet tall, so they're impossibly tall and slender. And they've got gravity powers. So I tried to give their poses a very ethereal, aloof kind of look. It was fascinating. I tried some hair here. Hair is one of the most difficult things, but as I've practiced, it has gotten better. The basic advice that I would give someone is to not focus on the details at all at first, and to just focus on the overall shape of the hair, the silhouette of the hair. So, as we can see from these final products, this one is mostly just the basic shape of the hair with a few little details. And then this one right here. Those hairstyles are meant to be applied to these characters back here, but I never got around to it. More practice with another type of alien. These aliens are more stout and stocky, and they have a rock-like exterior to their skin, like rock-like pleats. So I was trying to figure out, how do I take these pleats and make them look pleasing, look aesthetic, to have natural flow and design? And I figured that if I made the pleats follow the musculature of the body, then that could improve things. And it did. So this is a final version of the face. This is practice of a stocky, stout torso with musculature. And then I took that musculature and followed it to create rocky pleats. This is just a little bit more world building and character design on that fiery fantasy race. So this is a hairstyle that I tried. There are really fun things that you can do with people made of fire. So pigtails, they would go upside down, right? They would float up like fire. And then in a very dynamic, like magical shout kind of thing, the hair can flare out. This fantasy race wears fireproof bodysuits, so this is a little bit of an example of that. And this is a different version of the bodysuit where the character has this asymmetrical kind of anarchic design. Yes. This is practice on another type of alien, and the other types of aliens in my sci-fi setting have totally inhuman body shapes. So I took inspiration from animals. So I practiced with each of the different types of animals first, and then I went on to the alien. So this type of alien has it has the qualities of a horse. So I practiced horses, right? Horse hooves, and then the body shape of a horse, and yeah, this was my first attempt at a horse after having practiced. It didn't go too well because the legs are a little wrong, but the next one I tried went much better. So this is an actually good drawing of a horse. And this is also the first example of what I call the line of motion. Well, I'm pretty sure other people call it that too, but yes. The idea of a line of motion is that you, before you start your drawing, take a line and draw it in the general direction of the pose, and that gives you a guide to help you make the pose. So after that, another quality of these aliens is that they are insectoid, so they are both equine and insectoid. So I just practiced a bunch of insects, bees, wasps, cicadas, things like that. Got some spiders here. Yeah. Horsefly. Yes. This one. Yeah, here we go. So on the left here is one of the final inspirations for the alien race, which is a praying mantis. And then I took all of that practice of different types of animals and I applied it to the alien race itself, right? So this alien race is tauric, as in it's kind of shaped like a horse. So it's got the four legs down there, then it's got the praying mantis torso, and then its arms are kind of praying mantis shaped. Yeah. Well, thank you, casual viewer. Let's see. Oh, this is more world building on that alien race I just showed you. It's actually a teeny little comic I made. So, the idea behind this one, if I can get the angle right. Here we go. Panel number 1 shows a baby version of the alien. Now, the baby version, they don't have chitin like the adult version does. So they've got this kind of floopy, squishy, almost maggot-like quality to them. And that's what the close-up here is for. This panel shows that it has spotted some kind of material, and then what the baby does is it spits acid onto the material, takes that soft material and molds it over their body, and now it has a firm chitin head, like a chitin helmet, basically. So it's gone from this floopy shape to a firm chitin shape. And then that's just showing another body part that it's covering, so now its leg is covered in chitin. The final thing that I drew for these aliens is how they take that process of taking a material, softening it with acid, and making it into chitin. What they do is they take technology as well, and they incorporate it into the molding process. So it shows that the inside of the chitin helmet has technology. So these aliens sci-fi technology imbued into their natural biological processes. These are different versions of hands here, so they can decide whether to cover their fingers, if you can call them that, their fingers in chitin or not. And then these are different shapes of legs. So one kind of inspired by a grasshopper, one with a blade on it, and one with a hollowed out design. For the next alien, I really like these ones. These I describe as baby axolotl dragons. So obviously I started by practicing on axolotls. These are some cartoon axolotls, and then a more realistic version here. That one went pretty well. And then I started practicing just like generally cute kinds of things. So on the right here, it's practice of things that are very soft and round and adorable. These all of these are references. So this one is another artist's work, of course. Yes, but I took those, and then I tried some basic dragon shapes as well, because baby axolotl dragons is the key phrase. Dragon heads. Looks like I got a little distracted here. Saw another thing in a dream. These are just like spider-like creatures. Yeah. Let's see. Oh, where did it go? I'm gonna skip to the finished alien. Is it back here? No. Okay. It really took me a while to get there. Here it is. Okay. All right. Yes. So, something that was suggested to me by the internet was that dragons are a little bit like cats. So I did some practice on cats. This is another artist's work here of a Pokemon, I believe. And then practice on cats. Cat sitting, cat walking, cat lying down. Different angles. Yes. Cat head shapes. Just trying to go from analytical, anatomical study of a cat head to the idea of a cat head. These ones were pretty interesting. Let's see. And then I tried some more anthropomorphic cat head shapes that another artist drew. Practice of cat mouths. I can see the similarities between a dragon and a cat, kind of in the way that they move, in the shape of the body, and sometimes in the way that cats are kind of liquid-like. Let's see. Okay. Here we go. This is the complete alien. This one is not as good as the other alien. It's not as close to my true vision of this type of alien, but it serves well enough. Like I said, baby axolotl dragon. So it's got that lizard salamander type shape, and then those draconic wings, and I tried to make it look as cute as possible. But I don't have much practice with cuteness, so yeah. Let's see. Boo, boo, boo. Oh. These are some really great examples of my poses and line of motion. So this one here we go. The line of motion is very dynamic. It's very exaggerated. It swoops around and then goes back down. And then the pose itself, the character kind of generally follows that line of motion. And yeah. Another tip that people on the internet taught me is to pay attention to the hips and the shoulders and the angle of those, making sure that they're not just horizontal and straight makes the pose more dynamic. And this is a closer, like a close-up kind of the same pose. Let's see. Show the cats, and then after having practiced on dragons, I tried some dragons for my fantasy setting instead of my sci-fi setting. Yeah. You can see on the left here, I practiced some horns there for the dragons, which the coil technique was very useful for again. One of the dragons, I had imagined that they had this, fur as well. So a kind of dragon that had fur, and it would have had this huge, luxurious mane, and that's what I was trying to practice with this one. It didn't quite turn out how I wanted, so I did away with it for the final product, but once I'm skilled enough, I'll make a new version of that dragon with what I was imagining. Yeah. This is one of the dragons. Another one of the dragons. I really like this one. His name is Death Lord Zatum, and he's a zombie dragon. So that's why his horns are all broken up like that. And he's got this very pointy, triangular character design. This is the one that was meant to have the luxurious mane, but I just ended up with this one for now. This is a sketch I did for a weapon concept for a player in one of my games. So the character comes from a volcanic region. It's in this same fantasy setting where those dragons and that fiery race of people come from. So this axe was inspired by the dead blow hammer, which I hadn't learned of until somebody mentioned it. So the dead blow hammer, how it works is it's got a hollowed out part. This is an axe, but if it were a hammer, it would just be the hammer head, right? And the hammer head is hollowed out, and it's got a bunch of heavy metal pellets inside. So what happens is, when you swing it back, the pellets go back, and then when you strike, the pellets go forward, adding power and momentum to the strike. So for this axe, the character comes from a volcanic region. I just added an axe head to a vaguely hammer-like shape, and then it's got a chamber filled with not pellets, but lava. So when the character swings it, the lava rushes forward and helps with the momentum of the axe strike. And what he can do is he can activate the axe on a strike to blast the lava out of the chamber, doing devastating damage, things like that. This was me trying a very dynamic pose in perspective without much perspective practice. I was following the reference of another artist. Yeah. Let's see. Axolotl Dragon. Yes. I made another little comic. This one's for the baby Axolotl Dragon. The shapes at the top didn't go so well because it's at a kind of complex angle. The idea is that the character it's from the perspective of the character here. He's in a hallway and he's realizing that there are creatures skittering along the floor. And these axolotl dragons, they don't walk like humans do. They walk like salamanders. They walk like lizards. So they're these alien creatures, kind of like the size of a dog. Sapient creatures, so they can communicate with other people, but they walk like animals. So that's a very interesting differentiation between them and humans. This other thing here is showing how they eat different things than humans. So this is one of the baby axolotl dragons eating fish raw. And this one shows their alien powers. Each of the baby axolotl dragons has the ability to breathe sunlight, basically. So a beam of light. And that's what this is showing. The scorch marks along the wall and the beam coming from its mouth. This part here is where I began to figure out how to do faces. I was following a video, something like I think the title was "Everyone Can Draw Faces, You Can Too." It's a TED Talk. And as I was following along with him, I reached this epiphany. Right at the bottom here. Yeah, so I kept trying, and eventually I got to this thing here. Now, this face here is actually very interesting because it has a quality of je ne sais quoi. It has the quality of something you would put into a comic and know, looking at it at a glance, that it's a good product, that whoever sees it would feel viscerally what the character is feeling. And that helped me to realize how to draw faces. So I took that idea and I looked at some references that other artists did of faces, and it just made me much better at drawing faces. There's a face there, and then I did a full body pose with a face. That one's another artist's work that I referenced. Did this silly little head shape and added a face to it. different expression here with hair, and then I tried just a head shape with a face. Yeah. I really, really like this face here. This one is 100% original. It's just like some fairy with a pompadour and braid ponytail thing. I got really excited with faces and just kept going and going. I looked at a real life person and drew this one. Let's see. Yep. So after I figured out faces, I went on to trying hair. Alright. Oh. Alright. So this was before I realized that basic hair shapes were better. So as you can see, I tried to be a little overly detailed. It didn't go too bad because it looks the characters. It makes the character's hair look kind of messy, kind of frazzled, a little more natural. Yeah. And then this one, this was where I decided I'd see if taking inspiration from everyday objects and basic shapes would help me come up with hairstyles on my own, and it worked pretty well. So in the top left, that's the idea of an open book. So the two halves of the head are the pages of a book in hair shape. In the top right, that's a puddle, like a rippling puddle, and that inspired this hairstyle here. This one here is the idea of like a towel draped over something, and that inspired this very long hairstyle. Whoop, there we go. And then bottom right is I drew a flower and then took inspiration from that flower to make a hairstyle. And I added, I really liked the expression, so I tried to make it a bit more cute. So to add more detail to faces, I started doing practice on eyes. So drawing a bunch of eyes here. The idea behind this tutorial was to take basic shapes and turn them into eyes, right? So this is a half circle that becomes a half circle kind of shaped eye, triangle shaped eye, circular eye. And the artist was very good at taking these basic shapes and making them look unique and detailed. Things like that. I tried a few different eyebrows. Something that new artists seem to have a problem with is having distinct eyebrows. So tried practicing different versions of those. Tried different noses. Yeah. And this is just the basic practice method of before, right? Take the smaller components of something like hands or feet or legs, master those. Then, once you've mastered each individual part, it can become a holistic image. This was something, this was a tip that I felt was worth writing down. Focusing on expressions can cause a little bit of tunnel vision, where you don't realize that people express with their whole body. So incorporating the shoulders into an expression is a really good tip, and as many other parts of the body as possible. So I mastered faces, I mastered individual parts of faces, and then I tried different expressions, just practicing different expressions. This is from someone else's tutorial, another artist's reference. But it was very nice to try all of these expressions and see how to do them. Let's see. Why was I drawing these? I don't know. I was interested in the idea of drawing a person singing, so I looked at some references. This is something I drew from another artist's reference, and I think I made this one on my own.